What's up, y'all? It's your boy Ryan here talking about AI for everyday businesses. And today we're getting into how can we keep money in our pockets while still trying the new thing? Specifically, how do I figure out which AI agent rollouts actually make sense for my business without breaking the bank? And I'm open with this. If it's the new shiny thing, stay away. If you heard it work somewhere else, don't be convinced. And if you don't know every step of the process that you're putting AI into, do that due diligence first. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, I've been working with mainly construction companies, farms, food processors, and manufacturers for the greater part of the last 8 years. And if you saw my last video, these are industries and companies that are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to great positioning in digital transformation. I've seen big dreams crash and burn and small dreams make the difference in quarterly earnings. I've been on the sidelines and on the front lines of dozens of companies. And if you fit the description of one of the people that I've been working with, you know AI agents aren't magic. Automations are not magic. These are tools. And like any other tool, you need to know the right one for the right job, and you need to know how to use it. Everybody wants to make their business better, and everybody's open to looking into new ways for doing it. But the main question is how, what, and why. With AI agents dominating news cycles and social media, it's real easy to get FOMO about this. The pressure is real. You're hearing about autonomous job sites, AI that can predict equipment failures, systems that manage your entire supply chain without human intervention. It all sounds amazing. And honestly, some of it could work. But here's what no one's telling you. 70% of AI agent implementations fail, not just underperform, completely and utterly fail. Companies spend sometimes six figures and get nothing. The difference between success and failure isn't the technology. It's not even the money. It's asking the right questions before you write the check. So let's talk about how to figure out which AI agent rollouts actually make sense for you. First thing, and I can't stress this enough, you can't automate chaos. I was working with a HVAC contractor who wanted an AI agent to manage inventory. Sounds reasonable, right? Sounds easy. Problem was his inventory data was spread across 3 different spreadsheets, 2 software systems, and a bunch of sticky notes on his warehouse wall. And Susie at the front desk actually had a better idea of where everything was in her head. You want to know what that AI agent would have done? It would have very efficiently ordered the wrong parts to the wrong locations at the wrong times. Garbage in, garbage out, but now it's automated garbage, and Susie would have been better anyway. Before you even think about AI agents, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. 1, do I actually know what's happening in my business right now? And be honest, I'm not coming at you, but can you say, without looking it up, how many jobs you completed last month? What was the average project timeline? Where you're losing money? If you can't figure out those questions, an AI agent is not going to magically figure it out for you. Question 2, are my current processes documented and repeatable? AI agents are really good at following complex workflows. They're terrible at figuring out what the workflow should be. If your process is Tony handles it, and when Tony's not here, we figure it out, that's not something you can automate. Question 3, is my data clean and organized? This is a big one. I see contractors with customer information in their CRM, project details in their accounting software, and material costs in a spreadsheet that only one person knows how to use. An AI agent trying to work with that is like trying to build a house with blueprints written in 3 different languages. And, let's really break down this 70% of why AI implementations fail, right? So like 1 in 4, poor data quality. You don't have standardized data. You don't know where to get things, or you do, but it's in a lot of different places in a lot of different formats, right? So 1 in 5, undefined processes. Now, from a data standpoint, okay, it's easy to say that. But from a business standpoint, what that means is you actually trust your people and your people are getting it done, right? You don't need to define those processes because you're depending on the people. And that's not a bad thing, right? But when you define your processes, you figure out where you can unlock them, okay? Now, 15% wrong use case. In other words, somebody sold you something. Somebody said, I have this thing that works and I've done it with X amount of companies. It saved them Y amount of dollars. And you're like, I want that too. So what do? You jump on, you try it out, right? You see for yourself. You want to F around and find out, right? But what that person, what that consultant that's bringing you that workflow isn't doing is they're not getting to know you and your business. They're not getting to know like, okay, is this something that actually makes sense for you? Is this really the right starting point? Because I bet it could, but is it the right time for it, right? So insufficient foundation, 12%. Now, a lot of what I was talking about is part of the foundation, but we're also talking about like, do you have a plan, right? Does your business plan include AI? What's your tech department? Is your tech department just updating the website, making sure that the internet's working? Or do you have tech integrated into your business already, right? Like, is the tech guy talking to the operations guy, talking to the accountant, right? Is the foundation there, not just to build, but also maintain? All right, 10% integration issues. Now, this is part of poor data quality, right? Totally part of poor data quality, but it's different, right? Like, are you using legacy systems that don't integrate to the internet really well? Are you using a system that doesn't have an API key? Or do you have a custom system that you never created an API for? Okay, 10%. Budget overruns, right? So all of if you're in a situation where you fell even a little bit into poor data quality, undefined processes, anything before this, right? But you want to power forward, at some point you're going to cut your losses and you're just going to say this isn't going to work, right? So 10% of why people fall into that bucket. And then the 8% is lack of expertise. There's a lot of platforms that are out here saying like, oh yeah, you just implement this. This is super easy. I mean, and there's some really good ones out there. There are some really, really fantastic platforms out there that do make it easy for non-technical people to implement these things. But you do need a technical person that understands the risks and the rewards of where you're putting it in. You do need somebody that not just understands your processes, but your data structures. Okay? So that's the breakdown of the 70% that fail. It's not for random reasons. It's for these reasons. Now, assuming you pass the foundation check, let's talk about ROI, because this is where most people get it wrong. They fall in love with the technology instead of focusing on the business outcome. I had someone tell me he wanted an AI agent because he thought it would be a good idea. That's not a business strategy. What you need to understand is when you're doing these implementations, you are inherently becoming a software company. This means you follow development cycles and you make sure that you have quality assurance and proper rollout strategies. Make sure security is embedded. Here's how you actually evaluate an AI agent opportunity. Start with the problem. Because the first thing that you need is to consider, is AI even the right tool? And If it is, then you need to map your process and understand which legs you're going to streamline your data to create simple if-then automations. Figure out at what points does AI make sense. Also ask yourself, where are you bleeding money? Where are you losing time? Where are your people most frustrated? Let me give an example. Let's say you're spending 12 hours a week just coordinating material deliveries, calling suppliers, checking delivery windows, dealing with delays, rescheduling crews when materials didn't show up. That's 624 hours a year. At $50 an hour for management time, that's over $30,000 in coordination costs alone. Not counting the project delays, the crew downtime, and the customer frustration. That is a problem worth solving. An AI agent that could autonomously manage supplier relationships, predict delivery issues, and automatically reschedule crews, that could easily save you $100,000 a year. But you have to start with the specific measurable pain. I want to be more efficient is not specific enough. I'm spending $30,000 a year on delivery coordination. Now we're talking. So we really need to look at the business visibility, right? So if you can be specific about what you're working with, can you answer questions like, how many jobs I completed last month? Average project timeline. And when you're losing money, all right, now we're getting there, right? Are my workflows standardized? Can anybody other than the specific person that owns that process, can anybody do it? Can anybody do it in your business? That's a huge one, because if anybody can do it, then a machine can, right? And do you have consistent quality standards? All right, now we're going to get into that data organization, right? Is the data, in this case, customer data, is it centralized? Is it all in the same place? Is it all in the same format, right? Another one is like, is the process tracking consistent, right? Do we do the same thing for every single project? You know, and yes, a project, you're allowed variance, right? Like, I'm not saying that you have to be a robotic company where it's an assembly line, but is our process standardized enough that, you know, we're playing music with general chords, right? We have our general melody. The drummer knows the beat that they're going on. Yeah, there's room for improvisation, but are we all playing the same song, right? And then accessible performance data, right? Because like this one's really huge. This one is really, really huge, because if you're not evaluating the performance of your people, right, and you're not quantifying that, then how are you going to quantify what the implementation is getting you? Does that make sense? Right? We have to make sure that we understand the desired impact. So how do you figure out which specific AI agent implementation makes sense for you? You know, start with the pain, not the solution. I use what I call the agent framework, right? A, for autonomous potential. Can this task actually run without human supervision? G, gains are measurable. Can you quantify the business impact? E, existing data supports it. Do you have the data the agent needs to work? N, no critical risk. What happens if the AI screws up? And T, time to value is reasonable. How long before you see results? Let me walk you through some real examples. So let's say you want an automated scheduling, right? So autonomous potential, that's real high. Scheduling is mostly rule-based. Are the gains measurable? Absolutely. You can track efficiency, utilization, customer satisfaction. Existing data, Maybe. You need clean customer data, crew availability, and project timelines. No critical risk. Oh, that's medium. Bad scheduling is annoying, but not dangerous. And time to value, that's like 30 to 60 days. Scores pretty well. It's a decent candidate. Now, let's talk about autonomous quality inspection. Autonomous potential. That one's kind of medium. AI can spot obvious defects, but complex quality issue, that needs human judgment. Are the gains measurable? Absolutely. Reduction in like callbacks, customer complaints, and things of that nature. Existing data, I mean, that requires investment. You need historical defect data, quality standards, and a lot of different things like that. No critical risk. Oh, that's a high risk. Missing a safety issue could be catastrophic. And the time to value, that's going to take a minute, man. Like, that one's trickier. Like, I wouldn't put that high on my project roadmap. Like, it's a higher risk, it's a longer timeline. Like, I don't know. Like, that's probably like a phase 2 kind of deal. So you've done your homework, you've organized your data, you've done your analyses. Now let's talk about implement. So don't go big, start small. And I mean that. Like phase 1, pilot. Pick one specific process. Maybe it's scheduling for one crew or inventory management for one material category, and spend 10 to 25K, not 100. The goal is not to revolutionize your business overnight. It's to learn how AI agents actually work in your environment, with your data, with your people, and start scaling this process. Get ready to scale. And like, that's what phase 2 is. If the pilot works, and I mean like actually works, and you've measured it, then you can start expanding. Add more crews, more materials, more complexity, like start bringing things into this ecosystem that works. And then phase 3 is you scale. This is where you get the big wins. Multiple AI agents working together, handling complex workflows, delivering serious competitive advantage. But you have to earn your way to phase 3. You can't skip to the end. And here's the most important part, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times, measuring everything. Not just it feels better. I'm talking about hard numbers. Time saved, costs reduced, revenue increase. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So let me leave you with the 3 biggest mistakes I see people making with AI agents. Mistake 1, you buy the demo, not the solution. The demo you saw, it was running on perfect data with ideal conditions, probably with a human monitoring everything. The real world is messy. Make sure you're buying something that can handle your actual conditions. Mistake 2, trying to boil the ocean. We want an AI agent that manages everything. Nah. Start with one thing, do it well, then expand. And mistake 3, forgetting about your people. The best AI agent in the world is useless if your crew won't use it. Involve your people in the decision. Train them properly. Make sure they understand how it helps them, not replaces them. Look, AI agents are going to transform our industry. All of them. That's not hype. That's reality. The question isn't whether it's going to happen. The question is whether you're going to be ahead of the curve or playing catch up. But here's one thing. This isn't about having the latest technology. It's about solving real business problems with the right tools. Start with your foundation. Get your data organized. Document your processes. Identify your biggest pain points. Then, and only then, start looking at AI agents that can actually address those specific problems. And if you need help figuring out which AI agent rollout makes sense for your business, well, there's a lot of people that do that, and we're one of them. But Find someone that you trust. Find someone that you're willing to bring into your business and understand the ins and outs. Find someone that doesn't just speak technology, that's not just talking about the AI agent, but that actually cares about your business and is willing to map out processes, is willing to quantify these things. That's not just a yes man, right? Until next time, this is RD reminding you that the best technology is the technology that builds your business. Thanks for listening. Give a like, give a subscribe, drop a comment. All right. And if you have any questions or want me to cover anything specific, hit me up. I'm more than happy to hear. The reason why I did this video is somebody reached out and they said, oh my God, in the last one you were talking about so much, each thing could have been its own video. So until next time, peace.